How are we doing, guys? And welcome back to TSTV. Chelsea 2, West Ham 1. Oh, goodness me. I mean, that was a right slog, wasn't it? A massive 3 points, absolutely vital that we got the win there. And let's be honest, for most of the evening, it did not look like we were going to win that game. In truth, it was a very poor performance for the vast majority of it. But by hook or by crook, we got the job done. And look, I mean, we've actually played okay in some of the games recently where we have dropped points in. And maybe things are levelling out a little bit by playing quite badly and managing to get a win. But look, you know, we got a bit of luck tonight and you've got to take it sometimes. And, you know, I'm just really, really pleased with the 3 points. And sometimes that's all you can do in football, right? Sometimes when you're in a bad run of form like we are, when you're in a bit of a rut, you kind of just need to get the 3 points and then get out of there. And, you know, that's exactly what we did tonight. We've gone back into the top 4, which is a massive positive. But, you know, there were still plenty of things in that game which were concerning. I mean, I'll start chronologically, but I thought the first half we started so slowly. It was very lackadaisical. There was no real tempo to our play. And even in some of the games recently where we haven't actually won, we've actually started pretty quickly. We've gone, you know, a goal up. We've started quite fast. We've created chances. We put pressure onto the opposition. And that just didn't really seem the case tonight. It seemed very kind of cagey. We seemed quite nervous. There was only really one decent chance in the first half that we created, which was Noni Madueke. Some good bit of work by Jackson, who was actually quite poor tonight, but a good bit of work by him to release Madueke, and he kind of cut inside and curled it just past Areola's post, and I think he should be hitting the target and scoring from there. And in fairness to Noni, you know, he's probably not in the greatest of form at the moment, and again, another player that I thought was pretty poor in the whole tonight, but he has been taking similar sort of chances throughout the season. So yeah, I mean, I would have expected him to hit the target from there, but that was really it. You know, we really kind of just let West Ham grow into the game. You know, they weren't really causing us many problems, you know, going forward, but the game was drifting along and, you know, really we did not pose a threat at all. And it was really, really disappointing to see. I thought we looked very flat. I thought Cole Palmer was pretty non-existent in the first half, although I thought he was a lot better in the second half, which we'll come on to shortly. And I thought the only real player that kind of showed any intensity and any desire to kind of get forward and make something happen was Enzo Fernandez, who incidentally was my man of the match. I thought he was really, really good tonight. And then obviously, you know, West Ham get the goal. I mean, it's such a bad error from Levi Colwill. I mean, having played centre-half at times when I was younger, and I played up front as well, but, you know, when you've got a ball bouncing like that and an attacking player just behind you, and position that Jorgensen's in, and even Kudus is in, where he can actually latch onto the ball, it's not a ball you really want to be playing because you've got to get it exactly right, and he didn't. And Jarrod Bowen, you know, is a fantastic player, and I was a bit disheartened to see him in the lineup when West Ham released their team, and, you know, he punished us and it was a great finish, but a really poor moment for Levi Colwill, who I thought probably had one of his worst games for us. I thought even, you know, before that and after that as well, he didn't really recover. You know, there was a few headers, you know, when the ball came up to him that he didn't really win cleanly. There was obviously the incident prior to the first goal where he could have conceded a foul to Bowen, and it was very sloppy from him tonight. And I've seen it suggested elsewhere maybe it would be a good time to, you know, have Tosin and Chalobah play a couple of games. And look, I rate Levi really highly. I do think he is the future of our defence, but let's not forget he is still very, very young. And I think since Wesley Fofana has come out of the team due to his injury, he has suffered a bit. I think that partnership was working really, really well. We were conceding, you know, some goals, but on the whole, we did look a lot more solid, and he looked a lot more comfortable. And he just seems to be going for a little bit of a bad patch, and, you know, not having that really experienced centre half, you know, next to him could, you know, be costing him really in terms of being able to perform week in, week out. So I wonder whether it would be an idea to give him a bit of a breather. And obviously, you know, going into half time, you know, it was a very negative feeling around the stadium. Obviously, I wasn't there tonight, but you could kind of sense it, you know, through the television. You could sense it through social media and other people that I knew was at the ground. And it kind of felt that, the game was only going to go one way. I mean, maybe we might nick an equaliser or something like that, but we've seen this movie a lot of times before where Chelsea, if they don't start well, they find it very tough to get going in second halves of games. And to be honest, even in the second half, to start, it was very, very poor. We were, the game was very bitty. We weren't really creating anything. There was no intensity. And obviously, Maresca made, two double substitutions within the first 15 minutes. And look, Enzo Maresca's made, a lot of mistakes recently. I was very disappointed in him in the Man City game last week with his tactical setup. And I think it was probably the first game where I've really come away from it almost kind of single-handedly blaming him. Obviously, Robert Sanchez for the second goal, comes into the equation as well. But, I think he kind of set us up to fail. And I don't think that's quite the same case tonight, but we weren't really playing with any intensity. And obviously, in recent weeks, he's been very, very reactive with substitutions, but he was very proactive tonight. And it was almost like he kind of said, look, enough's enough now. I'm going to shake it up a little bit. And, in fairness, the substitutes came on and had an impact, especially Pedro Neto, who I thought played with real gusto. The one thing with Neto, he's not really set the world alight since he's come in. His goals and assists have been, pretty poor in terms of output, but he does work really hard. He's a bit of a grafter. He's someone that actually I think the crowd will get behind in the team because he does work. And there was a few moments before he came on. A cross was put into the box. I think it would have been Reece James that put it in. And Enzo Fernandez went to flick it on, and Noni Madueke was just standing about 10 yards away, and he was turning around to Noni and shouting at him, saying, "Where were you? You're supposed to be following in. I've created the space for you." And then obviously that's exactly where Neto's goal comes from. He puts a cross in the box, but he doesn't give up. He follows it in. And obviously when there is a bit of a scrap in the 6-yard box and there's blocks and legs and limbs flying everywhere, he's the one to latch onto it. So that was really, really good to see, him following that cross in and not just standing there and admire it. And I think it's something that Noni could take a leaf out of his book. And I want to see that more from Neto because the ability's there. We all know it's there. So we need to see that more from him. And after that, obviously, I think West Ham hit the post after that, and they did rally a little bit. I was quite impressed with West Ham tonight, actually. I thought they did, a pretty good job on us. And, on another day, they probably feel very, very unfortunate not to come away with anything. But, we get that bit of luck with the second goal. Obviously, when it first goes in on the telly, it looks like an absolute piece of brilliance from Cole Palmer. But I'm guessing the way he celebrated, he wasn't too happy that he, it took the deflection. He probably doesn't really claim it as an assist, even though obviously on fantasy football it will go down as one. But look, we needed that good stroke of fortune. There's been a lot of incidents recently where things haven't quite gone our way, and I always believe that when you're in a bad patch of form, you're not going to come out straight away and win 4-0, 5-0. It just doesn't happen like that usually. You do need a win like this, a win where you have to dig in, you get that bit of luck. You come away thinking, we got out of that tonight, and we did get out of jail. Let's be honest, we did get out of jail. I thought we did manage the game pretty well after that. Surprisingly, Maresca actually took Palmer off and brought another defender on, which he's never done before. So it was almost like he recognised how big tonight was. Not just to get back into the top 4, which is good, but obviously there's a long way to go in that race, and being 2 points ahead at this stage doesn't guarantee anything, but just to change the momentum, to change that kind of rut we're in, just to get that 3 points, to go over the line in a game we haven't played well in and hold on to a lead was just so vital for the team. And look, credit where it's due. Maresca was getting a lot of stick at half-time, and, you can imagine what the crowd would have been like if we had lost that game and what the reaction would have been on social media if we'd lost to, Graham Potter. I think there was a stat before the game where no former Chelsea managers ever come back to beat us in the league at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League era. So to lose that record to Graham Potter would have, felt very, very sore for Maresca. So for him to come out the other side of that and to actually interfere and affect the game is a real positive, and I hope he takes the lessons from this, and I hope in the next few weeks, if we do encounter similar situations, he's just as proactive and it's not a one-off. So look, I think it's a good night for Maresca in a way. The performance wasn't great, the setup wasn't perfect from the start, we didn't play with that much intensity, But as I said a minute ago, sometimes that's not going to happen, and you have to interfere as a coach in different ways. And he did that tonight. So kudos to him. Kudos to Enzo Fernandez, who I thought was my man of the match. I thought he was absolutely superb. Showed real leadership. Was grafting, was harrying people, showed some good quality on the ball, some nice crisp passes, made some really, really good important runs as well that he didn't quite get the credit for because other people weren't following him. So I thought he was brilliant. And obviously, Pedro Neto as well when he came on, absolutely superb. Really, really deserved that. It was a big moment for him and, really got us back into the game. We're a bit fortunate with the goal in truth, because it looked like it actually hit Mark Guiu's head when it goes to Cucurella, but when they showed the slow motion replay, it was very inconclusive, so VAR couldn't disallow the goal, but about another centimetre and it would have been disallowed, because it was about as close as you can get. So look, we've got very fortunate tonight, no bones about it, but look, you've got to take those results when they come. And we've got 2 away trips to Brighton next, who have just been beaten 7-0, not just beaten, battered 7-0, and they're going to be a bit sore after that. So we need to capitalise on that. And hopefully this gives us a bit of full momentum, a bit of confidence. And we can go into, the next 14, 15 games and kind of get back onto a bit of a roll like we were a couple of months ago. And look, as I said, at this point in the season, at this point in time, with the form we've been in, I just wanted the 3 points tonight. It didn't have to be pretty. And we got the job done. And that's the most important thing. Look, obviously, there's a lot of chat going on around the transfer window as well. I will do a separate video on that tomorrow, because I feel that deserves almost a whole segment rather than just a bit of a side piece, because quite frankly, the inactivity of the sporting directors and their inability to actually help Maresca and the team has been nothing short of a disgrace, in my opinion. So I will be giving my thoughts on that tomorrow. There's obviously still a bit of time as I record for the transfer window to, yield some fruit, but I can't see that happening, and I won't hold my breath. But I will be discussing that in more detail tomorrow, and I think it's even more pertinent with Jackson and Guiu going down with potential injuries tonight. What can you say, really? As I mentioned, I'll do a video on that tomorrow, but yeah, I think the directors have let down the manager, they've let down the team, they've let down the club. I'd say they let down themselves, but they seem to give themselves a pat on the back every time they sign a 15-year-old, so I don't think they probably feel that they have. But look, let's end the video on a positive. Great 3 points, back to winning ways, and yeah, let's go into the weekend against Brighton in the FA Cup full of confidence and get through to the next round. I'll see you tomorrow with my transfer window update, or roundup rather, and up the Chelsea.